Zimbabwe's ailing economy is hitting consumers hard. Bread prices have risen by 50%. The government is now calling on companies to reverse their increases. For more on this, we can speak to the new Zimbabwe's Online Deputy Editor, Richard Chidza, who is live for us via Skype, speaking to us from Harare. Good afternoon to you, Richard. So, bread prices are up in Zimbabwe. There was a crisis around the price of fuel late last year, early this year. What can people afford in Zimbabwe today?
Thanks very much for having me, Tambekile. And the things that Zimbabweans can afford are very little now. There are very few things that Zimbabweans can afford because given the price increase that we have seen, particularly in the past few weeks. And it's a combination of a lot of things, particularly what government has said, austerity measures beginning with the transactional tax that was introduced last October. It was a 2% and it kind of triggered a chain reaction across the economy of price increases. Then there was a monetary policy statement that was issued by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe sometime in February. I think that also increased, led to increases in prices, and government actually adopted a new currency, although they didn't say that in so many ways. Sorry about that. The move actually led to price increases across the economy again. But going back to January, you saw the riots that happened in which about 17 people were killed. They were triggered by 150% increase in fuel prices. Then government late March or early this month announced they were going to give a cushion allowance to civil servants. This has always triggered price increases every time there is an announcement that there is an increase in the allowances to civil servants, because capital normally follows this money in the country. So these things have contributed to the increases in bread prices, in petrol prices, in every other commodity that you can think of across the board. And very few people can afford anything now.
So Richard, bread prices are going up. The government, President Emmerson Mnangagwa, describing these increases as inhumane and unpatriotic. But what else can the bread producers do in a country where the currency is all but collapsed, the economy is in a state of crisis, and there are no jobs?
In fact, there was a reaction from the Confederation of Zimbabwe Industries and the paper that I work for, the online publication that I work for, newzimbabwe.com. We published a story yesterday in which CZI President Felani Jabanga actually indicated that government needs to be rational about how it reacts to this thing, because the increases in bread prices are a reaction to a government decision to increase the producer prices of agricultural commodities like maize and wheat by something like 86%. And that the producers of bread or bakers can't take it in. And the country does not have its own wheat. They have to import this wheat. And Cyclone Idai actually played the great havoc in Manicaland and the transport hub, the road that producers buy wheat through, that brings wheat into the country from Beira, was damaged. So there's been like a kind of a gap in the supply chain, as it were. So that also contributed probably to the price. But mainly the increase in producer price of wheat to 1,089, something like 76% increase. That basically triggered the increases.
So there are calls, suggestions from some quarters that perhaps Zimbabwe needs to abandon its bond note currency and adopt or trade at least in goods in South African rands. How much support is there for such a suggestion among ordinary Zimbabweans?
I think it will be accepted. And the problem with President Mnangagwa's government is that they want to follow the ruble. And by adopting the RTGS or the bond note as the official currency, they probably want to build a case for the joining the Rand Monetary Union, in my view. But if you go back to 2009, government adopted the Rand and the US dollar in particular without necessarily following the ruble, as it were. It was just like an unofficial adoption of the Rand and an unofficial adoption of the US dollar. But the problem with Mnangagwa is that he wants to follow the ruble, and the ruble doesn't work in this economy.
Richard Chidza speaking to us live there from Harare. Thank you for your time.